What if we could learn from outstanding leaders in business, sports, and education from some of the best voices in corporate America? Lighting the Path is a series of interviews with industry leaders whose stories highlight strategies that build purpose-driven cultures, engage and retain top talent, develop drivers that create high-performance teams, and connect people to the vision of your company. Join us to hear from game-changing, talented leaders whose paths make a difference at work and at home.
Admiral Nimitz was, of course, the admiral who led the Pacific battle in World War II, and there's a huge a museum that chronicles the World War II battles and stuff. And I got a chance to meet Michael Hagee, General Hagee, who was I need to check and see if he's still the CEO, president of the foundation. But he was a commandant of the U.S. Marine Corps, so he was the number one Marine. And you would think that this was somebody you would, be, just in your face, hard charging, barking, whatever. And he was one of the most cerebral people that I met, and just the way they'd approach things and created this atmosphere of engagement. Not the antithesis of military leadership, just the opposite. It's huge strength, huge focus. But spent an inordinate amount of time in preparation and getting people, connected and developed and fascinating.
That's fascinating because I think more often than not, in a monochromatic leadership way, we have looked for the fame of the leader, where actually I think the most effective leaders are not known, their people are known.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's they have a tendency to lift those people around them. That's what a good leader does. Yeah. We talked about what stops leaders from being curious. You mentioned that briefly, but it's the reason we want curiosity to be a muscle we develop is because when we do that, we create dialogue around what is uncertain. Because the lack of curiosity will increase uncertainty. The more curious I am, the more information comes up, more focus comes in there. And you talk about looking at uncertainty, transitioning from uncertainty to innovation, which 2025 is calling on us in society, in the workplace, in our families, to really look at innovation and embrace it, right?
Completely. Yeah. What's your question?
I don't have one. I just threw that out.
Well,
question. Sorry about that. Yeah, the question I have is, we're talking about 2025 as a year of uncertainty, and it's being driven because of a lot of the innovation. They talk about the society we're in right now, and I use society globally, not home or work, but society we're in. They're chronicling it similar to the Industrial Revolution, the impact of the Industrial Revolution on society, on the world place. Well, they think that right now that this whole technology and artificial intelligence is creating the same thing. Well, because of that, is we're going to go through, a type of uncertainty that's even more pronounced than what COVID took us through, which whenever everything got turned upside down, but then it righted itself up fairly quickly. When I say quickly, I'm talking about within months/quarters/years as opposed to decades. When we think of the innovation that might be needed, you have 4 C's that help people look at transitioning from uncertainty into innovation. Why don't you share that with us?
Well, before then, I think we missed a trick with COVID. That I think there was a strange gift that was being given to us in the horror of it all, which I think we bounced back from too fast. Would be one observation, that we probably didn't reset or take opportunity to grab a hold of family, of what matters. We were straight back on short haul flights, and things just went back to normal. I think with the C's of clarity, firstly, of what is actually going on, we talk about uncertainty, but I think you rightly say that lack of curiosity just fuels uncertainty, and an inquisitive mind, inquisitive people actually begin to say, actually, well, there are some clear things that are not uncertain. I think being clarifying what the actual problem is, and is that a problem in the first place? Is everything uncertain? I don't think it is. What can we still depend upon? Well, there's a list of things. What is it that we don't actually need anymore? Well, there's some things to consider. And perhaps this is this is certainly my way of thinking of from my faith point of view of what repentance means. Repentance doesn't mean look miserable and all that. It's actually a change of mind. I was walking this direction. I realized there was something in my hands that I didn't need, so I let go of those things and I turn around and I take something new. And I think that question, the clarity in uncertainty, helps me to transition where I'm looking in the right direction. The second C would be connections. Uncertainty both fuels connections and fuels disconnection. We back away from people, we withdraw from certain people, and we run to people who perhaps make us feel safe, make us feel secure. The slight snag is we do that through screens. So the people that we are running to, we've often never met, and maybe they're not real people anyway. They might just be bots. But the connections are key in connections with family, connections with friends, connections with people who are going to say, doubt our thoughts and say, well, why are you thinking that? I don't agree. Or I love you enough to tell you you're being a complete idiot, or whatever. Connection.
Hold on the fourth C, because I want to hit. We're going to come to the fourth one in a minute, but I want to talk about something I've just saw recently that addresses specifically on target with this. That has to do with the space you and I play in, which is the consultant,
Yes.
the coach, but I also think we can expand that out to leader. It also expands out to father, mother, sister, brother, child, whatever. And that's that. If while you're talking, if I'm thinking, I'm not listening. That I need to be listening, because if I'm listening, I'm present with the moment, right? And so if I'm present at the moment, you feel a sense of connection with me. If I'm thinking about the next thing I'm going to say, which is always a challenge I have with this, which is why I said really weird, wacky question that wasn't a question. I was thinking too much as opposed to just being present at the moment. And your question came back and caused me to stop, get present, talk with Tim right now, not worry about where we're going. And so I think that as you're talking about this whole purpose of connection right now, with the speed that we operate, is we have to really ask ourselves, as I'm connecting with somebody on my team or with the team as a whole, am I present at the moment? Do they feel me being present at the moment with my words, my actions, my thoughts? And curiosity helps us stay there, helps
Yeah.
us stay connected along those lines. And I think that's an important aspect of these four C's that you talk about.
Yeah, I think you can't listen in a rush.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Oh, I love that.
And that's one of the things I think speed is important. We've got to make decisions. We've got to get stuff done. However, you can't connect in a rush.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really important to be heard, to take the time to listen. I mean, it's difficult, I understand, in this environment, but actually to sit and think and to pause and to what's going on, what are you thinking? And that's what I would do with clients all the time. Is there would be I'm not afraid of space, because there's a lot more thinking going on than speaking. And so and you might want to say, well, what are you thinking at the moment? What's going on your mind? Where are you going with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I
When
think,
you talked about I can't listen in a rush, the thought that popped into my mind was, what's the story that I'm telling myself about why I'm in a rush? Because a lot of time I'm making up a story that's causing the rush, as opposed to being curious about staying in that moment, finding out what's going on, and realizing, yeah, I don't have to be in a rush. I don't have to be pushing here. Sometimes you do. Sometimes I call it is blood spurting. Well, if blood spurting, but you better go get the tourniquet and put it on there right now.
yeah,
A lot of times the blood isn't spurting. We're afraid that the blood will spurt.
yeah. But I think that's right. We're telling ourselves the story.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but actually, for the sake of a few minutes, to just hang on, we're not in a life and death situation. The most important thing is to really understand what's going on here.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to leave the fourth C out here, which is confidence. Share with us why, with the power and the importance of that C.
I think that confidence is seen in humility. When someone is properly confident, they don't have to tell everybody, they don't have to announce it. You just know. And you will see that when someone is in a room, when someone's speaking, there's a weightiness about them, or there isn't. There's a confidence about them, or there isn't. And I think people may know a whole list of incredible facts, but how comfortable they are in their own skin, it relates to how confident they are. And you can't fake confidence. And if you are faking it, it's because you haven't got it.
Mhm.
There's a humility, there's a pace change, there's a slower movement, slower articulation of people's thoughts and comments, because they are confident. This is what I think is true. This is what is true. What do you think? It's
Mhm.
There's a pace about that, and I think that is what often sets apart one leader from another.
Yeah.
One needs to be heard, but the other one you can't stop listening.
Yeah, I can't wait to see all the tombstones that are going to be coming out of the thumbnails coming out of our conversation. Because what I just wrote down over here is this confidence showing up as humility. I think that's just a great question.
It just takes you back to the character qualities all the time that just lurk beneath the surface. And
Mhm.
I think with my background in Christian church leadership, they so many things were considered to be a spiritual problem when actually, if someone just worked on their character qualities, they would have been helped a lot.
Very much so. Very much so.
I totally believe there's spiritual problems and spiritual answers and all that. But
Yeah.
actually, sometimes if people were patient or kind or just listened, that would make a huge difference to the world.
Yeah. Well, as we transition and start wrapping things up, you put me in a really cool place right now, Tim, to ask a question about your personal journey, because your audience today is not. So I use the word just the church.
No, it's not.
You
No,
you
no.
you broadened from that. That was a foundational. That's what sort of started you in your journey. And where you are now is you're speaking to leaders as leaders, no matter whether faith-based, not faith-based, church, business, government,
Yep.
leadership. Okay. Tell us just briefly your story about what's the transition that took place that moved you in that direction?
Well, for many years, my whole adult life, I was in a church leadership role, a pastor, and I loved the leadership development. That was the thing of just seeing how people develop. And that didn't just mean um, leaders at the top of the organization, it meant leaders across the board, whether that were parents or someone leading in their own environment, in whatever sense. I love to see people just get stronger and get better. But with church leadership came a whole host of other things, some of which I didn't have any control over or any interest in, and some of the things that were I just a values clash. And a bit by bit, time after time, I was just beginning to lose interest, lose passion in, whilst I still very strongly believe in how I put it. I believe in the message, but I wanted to change the packaging.
Mm,
Um, and so then I was always working in cities and always surrounded myself with professional parishioners, if you like. And many people were saying to me, you ought to be involved in leadership development or coaching of some kind. I wasn't quite sure what that meant, so I had to look into it. And as I looked into it, I realized, that's what I've been doing all this time. um, and I think this is probably the best way that I can lead people that I'm most comfortable working with, which would be professional sort of C-suite people, uh, and just helping them behind the scenes to really get their game together, and to perform in the public space because they've developed their lives behind the scenes. And yes, that does mean I work with people of faith, but it also means I work with people of no faith and no interest at all, But I'll tell you what, it's interesting what they bring up. As I would often say, God does his own marketing.
God does his own marketing. That's pretty powerful. This is one of the reasons I wanted to connect with you, Tim, is because I believe that well, recently I was asked by one of my clients to do some work with their church and developed a workshop for them on living your faith at work.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that, we talk about work-life balance, which is another one of those, just like soft skills is what do they call that? There's a conflict in those two words coming together. There's no such thing as soft skills. The most important skills and the hardest one to manage is how I interact with other people. That's the skill that goes in that is not soft. It's mandatory. When you think about things from a work-life balance standpoint, it has to do with you don't leave your family at home and then go to work and then leave your work at the office and then come home to your family. It has to do with depending upon what you're going through. This is what work-life balance is. It's being able to make those shifts and adjustments. As leaders, we've talked about and we've chronicled, I thought, a great conversation about we're leading people is not only the way they think, we're leading their heart. That's the space that we're in. That's the battleground that we're fighting with. And this whole concept around faith has to do with how do I look at myself in relationship to the universe? That's where faith comes in, and everyone has their own sort of journey that they go through with that. Your message is powerful in the business community because what it does is it connects people. Right. And that's everything we've talked about. It's whole aspect of connection using curiosity, fighting for clarity, which is one of my favorite words to work with leaders on. What's not clear? The more clarity we can bring in, the more effective we are as leaders. So I'm going to end with this off your website again, because I wrote this down, how you have helped people take agency over their time. All right. And so you're going to have to help me because I'm not from Britain. And so when you say take agency over your time, it's like y'all use the word diary, we use the word calendar.
Okay.
So help us understand, what do you mean by that?
So I was speaking to a leader. They were number 2 in the organization, and they were talking about how busy they were, all that they had to do, their list of stuff. If only you knew, Tim, if only you understood. And I asked a naughty question. I said, who runs your diary? And they realized what I was asking. And of course, it was them. They even have an appointment secretary who does what they ask them to do. I say, who is in charge of your time? Well, I am. And I think that is what I mean by actually taking agency, being the agent. I have control over. I don't have control over the minutes in the day. They will keep going. The sun rises and sunsets. We've got Bible verses for that. But the reality is, you decide where you spend your time. And I know that because people suddenly have a dentist appointment, or people have things to do, places to be. You have time for the things that you love, which is a shocking reality. We do what we love. And if you're busy, it's because actually there's some emotional connection that you have with being busy. You're validating yourself by just having so much to do, and you're fearful of space in your calendar. So what I mean by agency is actually taking responsibility for the time that I have to invest it with the people that I love.
Yeah, and I love this, and when I especially use the word love, challenge we run into is it's okay for us to love our people because that's just connecting hearts, and I can't think of a better way for us to put a bow around this conversation. Thank you so much, for sharing your time and your talent and your heart with us. If people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Tim Silk, LinkedIn would be my, come find me at LinkedIn. I'd love to talk to you there. That would be the best place to find me. You'll see a little mini course I put together about time. But that in the DMs, that'd be a great place to meet you. I'd love to meet people.
Super great. Well, thanks so much, and I just wish you an amazing journey.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to talk to you.
Thanks for joining us today on Lighting the Path, Strategies for Tomorrow's Leaders. If anything in this podcast speaks to you, if I've challenged you, or if you want to spend time digging into this subject a little deeper, or if you disagree with me, reach out. My contact information is on our website, lightingthepath.net, or email me at mike@mikelejeune.com. Also, look for me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect our networks. Keep lighting the path for those who choose to follow you. It's more than a responsibility. It's an honor.